it was his apartment in 2019, and he accidentally flipped the phone. Okay, he flipped his phone while he was live streaming. To be more precise, he was live streaming at the time, and he flips the phone.
FDMG resumes at gmail.com. FDMG resumes at gmail.com. FDMG resumes.
Okay, you guys see this? Okay, this is Umar's apartment. He had his own place back then in 2019. This is prior to him getting evicted. He had been staying here since at least 2010. And the reason why I know this is because the research shows this. Let me show you. Let me do a quick screen share. So this is from 2010. Let me zoom in so you guys can see the date. If you look right here, see where my cursor is at? Date filed. This is December 15, 2010. He was already having financial issues. And again, this coincides with, around the time where he stops working as a school psychologist and he starts full time as a speaker, I guess you can say. So the money wasn't coming in like it was coming in before. So what I can say conclusively that Umar, he stayed at this residence from at least, I would say in 2010 up until 2019. Okay. The total rent was $500. Attorney fees were $250. Subtotal was $750, court costs, etc. The total due was $830. I mean, he couldn't come up with $500 at that time. He ends up resolving that. Okay, so he stays at that residence for another roughly 8.5 years. Okay, we'll just say 9. Okay, just to make it easy. Now I want to go to 2019 with the eviction that he got in 2019. Okay, Umar Abdullah Johnson. Okay, this was filed September 10th of 2019. And if we scroll down here, we'll see the rent. Okay, so $19.53. I guess that was a balance that was due. And then August, he didn't, because I was reading this backwards. He didn't pay for August. And then we get to September, he didn't pay. And then the date filed for this complaint was September 10th, 2019. So the total rent that was due was $2,919.53. And then the total with all these fees and everything else was $3,541.28. Now, the last complaint didn't result in an eviction because Umar was able to resolve it. But this complaint actually resulted in an eviction, and Umar he just didn't resolve it. So he couldn't come up with $3,541, or he decided not to. Okay. Now, I'm going to propose that he decided not to because his plan was to just move into these abandoned buildings. Remember, going into 2019, after he acquired these abandoned buildings in Wilmington, Delaware for $400,000, Umar should have been sitting on about $800,000. But see, the point is that most of the money that he had collected at that time, he had already spent. All he had pretty much left over was the $400,000. He had been living off the money anyway. Now, remember, many of you guys remember in the timeline, what ends up happening is Umar does not start renovations right away. You guys remember this in February 2019? He says we need more money, but he should have been sitting on, again, about $850,000. Okay, but again, he had been living off that money from 2014 to 2019. Once he acquires these abandoned buildings in Wilmington, Delaware, there's no more money left. So he can't start renovations right away. So he comes up with the lie that he needs to find the blueprint so that they can actually start renovations. But the point is that it's all about the financials of this. That the reason why Umar couldn't come up in July 2019, $19.53, the reason why he couldn't come up with $1,450 in August of 2019, and the reason why he couldn't come up with $1,450 in September of 2019 was because he had run through all the money. I've shown you 2019 where Umar flips his phone and shows his living condition as a hoarder. I've shown you the eviction notice that Umar, really this is the landlord-tenant complaint, but ultimately Umar did not resolve this and he gets evicted. This is 2019. And then if you guys look at the video evidence, the forensics as it were, dealing with video evidence, and I've already archived all this and I can actually pull this up. If you guys look at what happens is after a certain date, you don't see him live streaming here anymore. And then you start seeing him live streaming more and more inside of hotels and motels. I can pull up evidence of this too to prove my case. You see him live stream more and more at hotels and motels because he doesn't have his own residence. You see him live streaming inside of his rental car more and more. You see him live streaming out in front of these abandoned buildings more and more.
Keep the trash off the ground. You know what I mean? He's going to do that. So we got a little contract going. Keep the money in the hood. You know what I mean? Keeping the money in the hood. Make sure y'all keep them donations going. We need them donations. Cash.me/$ FDMG school.
You don't see him inside of his residence anymore. And then at a certain point, you see Umar live streaming. It's his mother's residence.
And while we struggle to get the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy up and running, and we're only going to be able to get the small school up because we don't have enough money to get the big school up, we got Negroes who are trying to sabotage.
Speaking of farming, I need some black farmers to get at me. You must know your trade because I'm looking at farmland in Delaware. We need an acre or two for our school farm. We need an acre or two for our school farm. We're going to have crops and animals, cows, horses, chickens, turkeys. We might even do some pigs, black pigs. Black pigs. We're going to have black pigs. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? Quaker Grits is $20 million a year off black folks. Quaker Grits. Can I have your grit money for 1 year? Give me your grit money for 1 year and I will build 10 schools across this country. If you don't stay in shape, the blood is not going to get to where it needs to get so your Shango stick can form so you can satisfy your woman. She don't want a Twinkie. She don't want no Twizzler. She don't want no soft ass candy. She needs a rock. Because see, as much as our sisters want to be intimate, our sisters want to be held, our sisters want to be loved, they want affection, they want to be caressed, they want to be massaged, and all that's okay. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. But guess what? One thing for certain and two things for sure. Sometimes your wife going to come home frustrated and she had a bad day and the things just didn't go right and she ain't going to want to be caressed and she ain't going to want to be massaged and she ain't going to want a forehead kiss. She going to want her cookies crushed. Every once in a while, your queen is going to want her cookies crushed. And when your queen needs you to crush those cookies, you have to be able to meet the demand. Every sister, I don't care how spiritual she is, I don't care how feminine she is, every once in a while, she want cookies crushed.
Make sure you hit the Cash App, $FDMG School. Make sure you hit the PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. My first time I wore a wave cap in over a year. My first time wearing a wave cap in over a year. I forgot what they felt like. It's time to tie it down. It's time to tie it down again. King Kong back in the wave cap. Let's do what we do, only for a hot minute.
Because you didn't get what you want from me with your fat, pregnant, married ass, I'ma expose your ass. I might flirt with your ass. I might take a picture with your ass. But don't you ever once think that I belong to that ass. You messed up, fat girl. I saw you 5 times. When did we have sex? I saw you 5 times in my life, all public. All public. When were we intimate? When were we ever behind a closed door? Did we go into the bathroom together? Did we meet at a park? Were we ever in the same car? You told sisters we had sex. I never touched your fat ass. You ain't my type. You ain't my type, sweetheart. Your ass is flatter than a Negropean. Excuse me. Your ass is flatter than a European, flatter than a snow bunny. Your ass is flatter than an omelet on Sunday morning. Your ass is flatter than a street freshly paved on a Monday morning. You is not my type. You are not 5'5" thick in the thighs. I'm going to tear your ass a new one when that interview drops. You 7 months pregnant during an interview with Tasha K about Dr. Umar with your Neanderthal booty, your smashed in booty. You think I want to look at that? Do you really think I want to bend that over? But I would probably put him on a 3-year contract, you know, with a goal for each one of those 3 years. You know, get a job. These are the requirements to remain in his house. You're going to be on your own by 21, 22. So you got 3 years. I was sitting down to do a contract and a plan. Okay, you're going to have a job by this time. You're going to be in the GED course. You would have taken and passed the GED within the next 12 to 18 months. You know what I'm saying? We'll help set you up in your apartment, but you're going to get a job to pay for it. Like, I need to come up with a plan for that young man so he knows what the deadline is. I would give him 3 years. Maximum.
Appreciate you, my brother. I appreciate you. All right, now be blessed. Who we got next tapping in? Who we got next tapping in?
But I got a couple female celebrities, you know, we call, we flirt, we message, you know. I got a couple multi-millionaire queens we bounce off, but I know it's not a good social match for me because I'm unapologetically African. So if I end up in a relationship with her, there's things she do that are contradictory to what I stand for. So I can respect her and I can honor her. We might even have a cup of milk and cookies. You know, one of these cold winter nights, we might, you know, cuddle up with a warm cup of chocolate milk and some chocolate cookies. You understand me? When we get to the house with Grandma Vegan, I'm sitting on the couch and Grandma Vegan says, Umar, you raising your voice. I think you're about to get violent. I may have to call the police. I said, what? I'm sitting down. I didn't say nothing about violence. I didn't say nothing about fighting nobody. I didn't say nothing. I'm sitting down. Grandma Vegan standing up. The evil vegan standing up. I'm sitting down talking about wanting to see my baby. And Grandma Vegan says, Umar, you getting loud. You're getting angry. I think you're about to get violent. I may have to call the police. I said, deja vu, Mama Smurf part 2. Deja vu, Mama Smurf tried to get me locked up for something I never did using fake pictures. Her and her mom doctored up with makeup when the real guy who bust the windows out and threatened my daughter's life, she never took him to court. Never took him to court. Never took him to court. Here I am sitting in my daughter's grandmother's house trying to establish some custody so I can spend some time with my child. And the grandmother says, I might have to call the police.